And there we go. I think we'll see at the end what happens. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our very first Renew Your Spirit chat. I'm Lynn Gaffin, and I'll be your host on this journey. I'm an ordained minister through the National Spiritualist Association of Churches and a member of the Spiritualist Church of Peace and Light in Mystic, Connecticut. This chat is a place to hear and learn about the many modes of healing and different belief systems, including spiritualism. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, relax, and enjoy. My guest today is Gene Mandeville. Gene lives in Rhode Island. He's a member of the First Spiritualist Church of Willimantic. You're a certified medium. I think you're a commissioned healer.
I am.
You're a commissioned healer with the NSAC, and she's a licensed licentiate minister, and she has just taken the test to become ordained. By just, I mean last Saturday. So it's just been a week. Wasn't it last Saturday?
It was actually Thursday, so it's just been like 48 hours.
So you haven't had any sleep yet, okay? Jean teaches classes in mediumship development, trance, meditation, meeting your guides, accessing the Akashic records, and how to clear the chakras and the auric field. And she's done readings in several states, plus Mexico, Brazil, and Dominican Republic. And thank you so much, Jean, for being here on my very first broadcast or chat or whatever you want to call it. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, with all this being said about everything that you've been doing, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm a bit tired after all of the studying and the testing, but all is well.
Good. That's great. Now, how long have you been in spiritualism?
I was introduced to it around 27 years ago when I had a good friend go to someone called a medium for something called a reading. And she was telling me about it, and she loaned me her cassette tape. You know, I'm aging myself a bit here.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and I was utterly fascinated by it. And I said, I'm going to sign up for one of these readings. And that particular medium was the founder of a spiritualist church. And that was the beginning of my journey with this.
So did you go right into that church, or did you shop around, or how did you do it?
I did attend that church for some time, and actually wasn't aware of other spiritualist churches. We didn't have a Google then. So, you know, there was several right in Connecticut that I wasn't aware of. And eventually one started in my state, Rhode Island, an independent church. Mm-hmm. So the original medium moved down south, and I was busy being a single mom. And then as Freedom returned to my life, as she went to school, got older, I took up again on this path. But I was always studying something spiritual, and got into the healing arts of Reiki and integrated energy therapy. And I was always exploring something.
So when did you get into the mediumship part? When did you, let's put it this way. When did you know that you could give messages?
Well, I can't quite pinpoint the year because I must have been picking up on things growing up, but didn't have the network like my mom and grandmother. They were mediums. They would have spontaneous experiences.
Really?
But didn't have the network to understand how the gifts work, what we do with them.
Wow.
So there's the part of our gift that is natural, and there's the part that needs development. And my mom was 80 years old, having experiences of waking up and seeing an aunt of hers at the foot of the bed that had been in spirit for some time. My mother described in great detail her outfit, how her hair was styled. And I would just say, wow, Mom, that's so neat. And then we would always, the ball got dropped because we didn't know what to do
Right.
to establish links purposely, to on command be able to connect with the world of spirit. Her mother, my grandmother, in the 1930s was standing on Long Island Sound and had a vision of what she described as an angelic being over the water, who was talking of events that were going to come up in the world and was crying. And this was World War II. So they had wonderful mediumship experiences. But I was the one who was blessed to be able to find the network of the Spiritualist Church, where I could get good classic training. And when I began to go for credentials and signed up with the Morris Pratt Institute, I began to learn about our history and how much history we had and how much was figured out. The amount of studies that had been done with different types of mediumship, whether mental or physical. A very fascinating history. So it has been for the last 8 years that the journey began more in earnest with this. I found teachers and graduated to do platform work in our churches. And it's probably the most meaningful part of my life is this work.
Do you think the opportunities come when you're ready for them?
I very much do. And this has to do with, I think all of us say, oh, I wish I started sooner.
Yeah.
But we start when something activates within the soul. And there is something in us that opens, that is ready, and the activation begins, and the calling begins, and then the opportunities align.
I totally agree with that. Because I know I keep thinking, well, I wish I had started all this earlier, but I don't think I would have been ready for it. I had too much other stuff going on in my life at the time, and I think it came when it should have.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I know you're a retired teacher. Were you able to apply any of this to your teaching?
Well, I think that the basis of any spiritual work is love and compassion. So to have that with the kids that I worked with, I think that's a very important part of being a teacher. Being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, understanding what is motivating certain behaviors. Was a child reaching out, acting out because something was wrong. So it's that there's that human characteristic that makes a good medium and would make a good teacher. I did keep, of course, mediumship out of the classroom. Right. I kept the two careers separate. There were times that I would see orbs or spirit lights within the classroom, but I was so busy working, there wasn't time to explore. I could just tell that a spirit was there. In a split second, what could I pick up from who was there? Many times it was grandparents, great grandparents, just checking in, but I was busy working, so there was no time to explore that.
Yeah. Now, how do you think spiritualism has impacted your life now? I mean, aside from the testing.
Aside from exhaustion,
Yeah, well, that too.
it fulfills me in a way that nothing else has. Now, of course, there are all of the very wonderful things about our physical existence, the people that we love and love us back, having my daughter, having her love, the having nature around us. I mean, there's so many wonderful things about this physical existence, and we are to enjoy that. We're here to enjoy that. We're here to explore. But my spiritual explorations bring me such a deep fulfillment. And I believe that when we are fulfilling a call that is within our soul, that we're going to feel that fulfillment. It's going to feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So my understandings of the science, religion, and philosophy that I'm part of that make up spiritualism, they brought me answers that I had been seeking for decades. That when I was entering my high school years, I had a brother and father die within 2 years of each other, which was a kickoff to a rather depressing set of high school years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an appointment with my parish priest, and the religion that I was raised in was a good experience in many ways, but certainly fell short with having answers to what happens when we die. And here my father was trying to access, visit me through dreams. I could feel his presence. Mm-hmm. So I went and talked to the priest about this, who just had answers like, well, when my father died, I had dreams too. And so my gifts could never take off because they were always discounted. And when I found 27 years ago that first spiritualist church experience, I felt I had come home. Mm-hmm. I felt I had found answers, and that seeing how it could be done for someone in the physical called a medium to link to the world of spirit, be able to describe that spirit and give messages from that loved one. I was in absolute awe of it. It brought me comfort, brought me answers, brought me understanding. And I knew that this would be part of me for the rest of my life.
Now, is your daughter involved in any way? Does she have any of the gifts?
I think that she does. I think that she is doing what I was doing at 31 years old, and was busy, with right. a domestic life and with working. But I do feel that she senses things and picks up on things, and that when it is time and when her soul activates, that she just maybe be feeling a calling as well.
But she's been exposed to it through you. She knows about it.
Oh, yes.
So it's been handed down through the generations. Your grandmother, her great-grandmother, and your grandmother, mother, and you.
Yes, I am third generation, and I presently have a teacher that I'm studying a year-long course with, named Mavis Patilla, who is 80 years old and has been doing mediumship 54 years. Mm. And I asked she says it's actually within someone's light, within their auric field, what generation medium they are. I was very fascinated by that. So I said, well, with my mother and grandmother had experiences, but never had a chance to develop them. So how active would they have to be with their gift for it to show up in my light that I'm third generation? And her answer was that it would just have to be activated a smidgen within them. So so is my daughter a fourth generation medium? We'll see. Kind of exciting to think about that.
When you first started with the church and in spiritualism, were you more interested in the philosophy or the readings?
I think at first just I wanted the visit from my loved ones in the reading. And it was my brother who came forward. And that was probably who I wanted to hear the most from, and who I needed to, that was the situation I needed to do the most healing. So it was, at first the interest was, who's there and what do they have to say? And I don't think I'll ever forget that first reading.
Yeah.
And I listened to that cassette tape, I can't tell you how many times. And in the world of spirit, they know when, or they tend to have a heads up, we'll put it that way, that we all go into a reading with the wish list of who we would like to hear from, but we can't guarantee who will be there. There's more opportunities than we can imagine.
Oh, yes. I mean, they don't just sit around waiting for us.
They have lots.
They have a life. They have a
lots
life.
to do. They have a life over there. That's right. But very often when they get an opportunity to come through, they are there. But there is a timing. I call it a pecking order from the other side. And when they have opportunity, I've come to realize, like before a church event or before a gallery type of setting, a message circle, they know that their loved one on this earth will have opportunity to hear from a medium. And there's a lot of coordination before a group demonstration event. A lot of coordination goes on in the spirit world to align the order of who's going to come to the medium. And a person could quietly be sitting in the back row, way in the corner. And if spirit wants to bring me to that person, I'm absolutely led there. So there's all the coordinating we do on this side before an event. And then there's all the coordination on the other side. And that the thought that they may be able to get a message through, and just the thought that their loved one has come with the hope of getting a message from them, very much fulfills them.
Oh, I would think so. I know when I first started, all I wanted was the reading. I didn't care about the philosophy. I didn't believe it. I tell the story that I thought everything I heard at church was crazy. I thought you were all nuts. I didn't want to hear any more about it. I didn't believe anything you said, but give me that reading. And that went on for a long time. And there wasn't anything special that happened. It was just kind of like osmosis. You stick around long enough, you're bound to get something. And gradually I found out that maybe there was something to the philosophy. No, and now I'm more interested in the philosophy than the reading.
Yes. And there again, I think that it's within our soul, once we find this work, of what our purpose within this work is. And it's fine that that all of our purposes don't match. You know, for some, it may be giving the private readings. For some, it may be the platform work. It may be the ministry. We certainly, you know, we have people on our boards that are not mediums, and that's fine. They're great supporters. We need everybody.
Yep. I know I had somebody tell me once that they didn't need to come to church anymore because they didn't want to, they knew all about the readings. And I thought, oh, there's so much more to it than that.
Oh, we're never done seeing how much more.
Oh my gosh. Oh, no. But they dropped out. So yeah, I guess who's ever supposed to be there is supposed to be there. But when did you get the confidence to do platform readings? How long into it was it?
Oh gosh, that was at the Independent Church in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
And I took one series of trance classes with one of the co-founders. And this was in the First Spiritualist Church of Rhode Island, which once COVID hit, they've had to close.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
They were a successful parish.
Yeah.
They would have a good 50 to 80 people to 100, 120 people a week coming. And it was a pleasure to serve there. But I started there 8 years ago and then took a series of classes and was instantly made an instructor.
Oh, okay.
Instantly made a trance instructor. And they said, now this was in 2012, 13. And then they said, you're going to be on the platform someday. And I was like, really, do you think? So I went into, but there was a cancellation. They said, in 2 weeks, can you be the medium? And oh my gosh, it was, so I was just kind of like tossed up on the platform. Like, here you go.
Yep, that's usually the best way.
Is it? And so what I did was described a guide of mine that I still work with named Lydia, who had a lifetime in Britain. She's very posh, and she's very warm and loving. And she was in World War II a spiritualist. They had a residence in London, the house she grew up in, and a residence in Kent. So I did not automatically know everything about her life. It more was in unfolding. But I would go into trance, not realizing that there's no need for accents. So, you know, I've had classical training since then about trance mediumship, but I didn't know any better at the time. So I said, well, if you're British, then where's the accent? And so she began coming through with an accent with me. When I bring her through I realize how much I slouch because her posture is very, you know, it's like I should go into trance with her more often. My posture would improve. And she's, anyone that has so-called met her in the trance state really enjoys her so much. After I go into trance, I'll get, and I often am not in trance on the platform these days, but may return to that as I am guided. The focus has been for the area of mediumship called mental mediumship.
Right.
So, so it began, and then I had adult students that I was teaching trance to, and they said, it's time for you to come into Connecticut. It's time. So it was an Easter Sunday. That may have been 2014. and Norwich Church was the first NSAC church in Connecticut to have me. And Lydia was my platform work for the first 2 years.
Have you ever had anybody draw her?
I have not, but I have taken some classes at involving art and mediumship, and just been so busy studying for my ordination
Yeah.
that I haven't had a chance to really develop that. But I'm interested in someday being able to incorporate either aura graphs or drawing the spirits.
Well, you're an artist anyway, because you taught art in school, didn't you?
I did teach art for 17 years and third grade the other 17. And but I was more concentrated on the education end.
Right.
So and then my art became to be a fiber artist, to be a quilter. But the drawing aspect, if I worked with it, I could get it back.
Now, when you work with Lydia, do you see her?
No, it's the trance state that I do is a blending of energy.
Okay.
So I'm still conscious, and many times in a trance state, the medium will remember what is said.
Right. Yeah.
So I sense her, I feel her. She's a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That brings to me, anyone working on a platform, working with spirit, we're bringing that beautiful high vibration into us. And when I say bringing it into us, I mean a blend of energy.
Yep.
Because the spirits cannot take us over.
Right.
So it's a healing energy, a calming energy. And I remember I was booked for the wonderful church in Onset, for Spiritualism Onset, I believe, Kathleen.
The Wigwam or
well, both are
Okay.
wonderful places. But I bring up Kathleen's church because I was so nervous. It was early in my platform work that I just said to Lydia, just blend in as soon as you can and just take the floor.
Go ahead, take it over. Do what you do and leave me alone.
Leave me out of it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Oh, yeah.
She's laughing now as I'm saying.
I know I asked you about this earlier and you said you would think about it, and I don't want you to feel pressured to do it, but could you bring her through today, or are you too tired? And that's okay.
I think we'd leave it for another time.
Another time, I will rebook you. Okay.
Because she is such a pleasure to work with.
Now, does she have any problems working with this type of medium? I mean, with the electronic?
No, it's hard. We've had such shifts and changes with COVID, and some churches have resumed in the physical, and I'm so glad that yours has, Lynn. There is a difference. I can still do mediumship through a computer, and spirit can work anywhere. Does it feel different? Yes.
Oh, sure it does.
Just if you look at it just as if how we just missed each other's physical presence, but also the difference in energy between my doing a gallery reading with the group of people that they're new to mediumship, I'm their first medium, I'm their first experience, which has happened many times. It's a different energy for me to feel than when I'm going into a spiritualist church And most of the group, except for the people that are brand new that day, have an understanding of the process, have a trust, they've observed different mediums giving so much proof of the spirits that are there. They see the truth of it.
Mm-hmm.
So churches naturally do a type of holding of the energy that I can, and I'm sure you have felt it too, that when we get to be with that group physically, that already has an understanding.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So even the difference between I have two physical groups and one understands mediumship and one is new to it, there's quite a difference there. So it does feel different on the computer. But studying with Mavis, we would have been doing it that way anyway, because she's in Britain. So the British do and I know that you know this, Lynn, but they do the indirect method. Where, so someone in the class it will be my turn. So, and a loved one from someone in the class will come into my living room and I begin to connect with the energy. And it works. So that's indirect. And as you know, in our churches, we have direct for NSAC. So there's differences within the American and the British styles. It's the same, but not the same. So we'll feel drawn to a person, and then we will link with the loved one with that person. So just different ways of approaching it. So we make do. And then when we had the shutdown, I missed teaching so much that after about 6 weeks of not teaching, I just said, I need to have the courage to walk forward and try this online teaching stuff. And
we do it all the time.
And now it's just a part of our life.
Yeah. In fact, in our church, we meet physically right now, and we also are on Zoom. We're also doing it electronically because through when we were shut down, we gained some people on Zoom that were handicapped or were at a distance and couldn't make it. So they, try to come with us on Zoom on Sunday. So we've got everything. We've got the electronics and we've got the in-person. And it seems to be working out.
Lynn, I was so impressed to see your techno setup.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were there. That's right. I mean, time just goes, I don't know where
I tell you, you're doing okay for yourself.
Oh, let me tell you. I'm not going to tell you what happened last week. I thought I was doing so well with it and everything, and we kept looking up and nobody was there. Come to find out, I figured it out in the middle of the week. I forgot to turn on Zoom. So we weren't even
details
there. Okay. Well, I just thought nobody wanted to show up. So.
And they were saying, "Where is she?"
Yes. No. So nothing is perfect, believe me. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that this goes okay. I'm trying to figure this out as we go along. But
I think you're doing great.
Well, thank you. We'll see how this is recorded afterwards, because never done it before. So I kind of learn as I go along. It's called on-the-job training. So what do you when you talk about spiritualism to somebody who doesn't know about spiritualism, how do you explain it to them?
Well, I think about what drew me to it, and that we all have loved ones in spirit, and wouldn't it be wonderful to get a message from them? So I approach it from what resonated with me, what meant something to me back then. And that what I appreciate about our religion is that we're not out to convert. We're not out to prove.
Right.
We're just here, and that when it calls to you to come join us, you're welcome. So I introduce it in that I am a medium, and often enough I don't bring it up. And if we're in a group, I'll have friends that bring it up.
Right.
And Jean's a medium, kind of thing. And so they go, oh, and like, tell me about that. Is it like on TV? And I'll say, well, yes and no, because we're not, it's considered poor etiquette to approach someone and say, oh, you have a script with you. Would you like a reading? It's like, we don't do that.
Yes.
So it's, and I explain, and I try to sum up and say, I'm certified, and they go, there's training for this, there's credentials for that. There's other people out doing mediumship that don't know there's a way to get certified in it. And just explained about my loved ones that I get to connect with, and do it in a non-pushy, certainly a non-threatening type of way. And I think anytime that we have something in our heart and we speak from the heart, the right words come out.
I know when I have new people come into church, the first thing I tell them is take what you like and leave the rest.
I love that saying.
Because it's, people are coming from all different, maybe they're coming from different religious backgrounds or whatever, and maybe what they're hearing from the podium doesn't hit with them. And that's okay. Because that's the only way you can learn is to listen. Didn't hit with me. So you just, like I say, take what you like and leave the rest. And I've had more people come back to me later and say, I was glad you told me that, because it kind of took the edge off of them. It took the pressure off of them. And but where do you think spiritualism is going?
Well, I feel that the consciousness is so changing in this decade, in this year. And people, I find, at least in the Northeast where we are, but also I'm studying with students from all over the United States, come to think of it, that people seem to be more ready for this, of, not having fear. What could be wrong about your loved one being able to come through and give you some comfort? But before we give the message, we give proof, but who is connected with us. So my sense on this is that more and more people will be open and ready. And what we're going through globally now with the statistics of the day.
Yeah.
So if we have the TV on, how many died from COVID today? And the subject of death is basically in our face every day. So as spiritualists and as mediums, we know that when we shed the physical form, we absolutely continue. We are energy. So, and those beautiful energies that we get to connect with, we don't call energy, we call them mom, or brother, or friend.
Yeah.
So I feel that, to answer your question, more and more people are ready for this. And spiritualism has so much figured out about the transition process. And I think they're ready to hear it.
I hope so. I know it's changed a lot since I first came in. It's more, not that it wasn't accepting. It was always been accepting. It's just, I think it's a warmer religion now than it was when I came in.
Mm.
And, but it's, we've got something for everybody. We have something for everybody. I told somebody once that spiritualism was not for everyone. And they said, oh, yes, it is. Well, I meant it in the way that not everybody's interested in it, you know, and so it's for the people that are looking for it. It's not for the people that don't want it. And I think that they're coming more and more around. I think you're right. I think people are becoming more and more interested. I love your dog.
It's my biggest fan.
Yes. But I think you're right. I think we have something for everybody, and we just have to be there for them when they come in.
Now, of course, some people may be the most interested in the healing portion of our service, and that what we say about healing is that, of course, you continue to go see your physical doctors. They have so much figured out. But when we couple that with divine healing, we're covering a lot of bases there. And people need healing in different ways, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Or does the person need comfort because they are grieving the loss of a loved one? So, of course, now with COVID, we don't have hands-on healing, but the really terrific thing about healing coming through our hands is that we do not need to be touching the person.
Right.
So we still have, and of course, your church still has the healing portion of the service. Lots of beautiful healing energy is in the room. We're just not hands-on for now.
Yeah. Do you think that makes a difference?
Anyone who has studied healing knows that it does not. But when we touch, even just on the shoulders, there's something comforting about physical touch. Of course, about getting a hug. Mm-hmm. Those are very comforting things. There were studies, I think, decades ago by Leo Buscaglia said that when you get a hug, that certain well-being chemicals are released within the system. Hemoglobin levels rise within the body. So there's the physical things that occur that are good for us when we're getting a hug. So there is that component which we cannot do for now with COVID. Mm-hmm. So is the energy still there? Does it still travel? Does it still work without a touch? Absolutely.
Now, with you just took your test for ordination. What do you want to do with your ministry?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to see where my soul and spirit lead me on this. Where is my mission with it? And I don't particularly know right now, and that's okay. Yep. You know, I will know when it's time.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, you will know. I know. Because when I started the church, it was like I had no qualms about it at all. I just knew it was something I needed to do. And yeah, you'll know when it's time.
What year did you form your church?
We got the charter in 2011. I started it in 2010. I started working on it in 2010. And just a year later, I got the charter. Yeah.
Well, it's a very nice church.
Thank you. We like it. We got a fabulous group of people. We really do. We've got our core group and that, and every once in a while we get somebody new in, and that's exciting. That's exciting. But it's nice to be there. We're in a fabulous place because the landlord he does absolutely everything for us. Whatever we want, we ask, and he's there. You know, we got the place wired for Wi-Fi, for crying out loud. It hadn't been before. And I asked him about it, and he said, I'll take care of it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're in a good location, and it's a pleasure to come serve your group.
Thank you. We like having you there. We like having Lydia come too. So I definitely would like to schedule you for another visit. And hopefully you'll have more sleep at that time, get rested, and you can bring Lydia along. We'd love that. So she's quite the gal. I really enjoy her.
Me too.
So. Well, Jean, thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for being here on my first chat. My first chat. I really appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. And thank you, Lynn, for all the support that you've given me, whether I needed papers filled out for healing or for chairing a service. You've done so much for me. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been my pleasure. It really has. And my guest next Saturday will be Fred Markle, and he will be talking and demonstrating sound healing. So that
I know Fred.
Do you?
I do. Yes, he gives very nice sound concerts.
Yes, he's going to do the chat in his studio, so he's got access to all of that. So it should be interesting. And if there is a subject that anyone would like to hear about, or that you yourself do and would like to take part in the chat, let me know through the Facebook page. And till next Saturday, have a good week and stay safe, everyone. And thank you again, Jean.
Oh, you're welcome. Blessings, everyone.
Blessings to you.